All right. Hey, how's it going, everyone? Excited to have you here today for a Doctible webinar. Let's give everyone just a few minutes to hop on before we get started. Adrian, how are you doing today?
Doing well, Mitchell. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited to dive in.
Likewise.
How's the sunny West Coast today? Good weather?
Very sunny, actually. Yeah,
Nice.
like it's actually cooperating. It's glistening off the white shirt. So yeah, weather cooperated
Jealous.
with me today.
Nice. That's awesome. All right, we'll give it another minute or so before we get started with the webinar. All righty. Um, Super excited to have you guys here with us today. My name is Mitchell Poussin. I am the product marketing manager over at Doctible. We've got a really great webinar to present today. Essentially, we're going to show you how your practice can save 5 days a month using Doctible. So, over the next 30 minutes, we'll get into a wide range of topics. We'll do a Q&A at the end. So, uh, please be sure to have questions ready for us in the chat, and we'll get those answered. And then lastly, just some housekeeping. We'll send out a recording of this webinar after we're finished today. So you'll also have that available. Um, so now I'd like to introduce one of my colleagues, Adrian. Adrian, if you want to share what your role is and tell us a little bit about what you do at Doctible.
Thank you, Mitchell. So my name is Adrian. I'm an account executive here at Doctible. So my primary role here is I work with both existing and new business. So what I typically do is I'll hop on a call with the doctor, with the office manager, with the front office staff, just to kind of discover what the type of issues a practice might be experiencing, whether it be retaining patients, streamlining operations, attracting new patients to the practice. We'll go through and find ways that Doctible can specifically help your practice grow, improve both staff and patient experience, and also increase your bottom line.
Awesome. Thanks for that intro, Adrian. And then I'll do a little intro of Doctible. So, if you're not already familiar, Doctible is a leading patient engagement software with a focus specifically on dental private practices. We were founded in 2013 and we're used by thousands of healthcare offices nationwide. We're truly an all in one patient engagement software. All right. So I'll cover the agenda for the rest of the call. These are some of the key topics that we're going to be talking through. We're going to start out just talking about some of the common challenges that we're seeing practices face. Adrian's on, several calls a day talking with dental practices. So we're going to hear from him firsthand, just some of the common challenges that we're seeing. We're going to talk about ways that Doctible can help empower your staff and truly streamline operations. as well as make your team more productive on a daily basis. Then we're going to dive into some of the key Doctible automation features, kind of the backing of Doctible, what we do really well. We'll talk through those features, and then ultimately we're going to talk about ways that we can help you get new patients in the door, ensure they show up on time for their appointments, and then lastly, how we keep them coming back, and keeping those chairs filled. All right, so kicking off, we'll talk about some of the common problems we're seeing dental practices face. I'll pass it over to you, Adrian. We can talk a little bit through, some of the growth challenges that you've become privy to.
Thank you, Mitchell. So as it stands, August 2024, we're a couple years removed from the pandemic, and luckily a lot of practices have been able to recover a lot of their patient base. And because that patient base has been recovered, practices are starting to get busier. Fuller schedule will open you up to the potential to more late shows, more note shows. And of course, that's going to disrupt the entire rhythm of the schedule, also potentially missing out on that revenue. Because practices are busier, they are running into a lot more staff burnout. One common problem that I run into a lot is staffing issues in itself at practices. Hard to get good people working these days. So we want to arm your staff with tools to make sure that it's just going to increase productivity. The last thing we want to do is a decrease in morale, because that's eventually going to translate to how they're interacting with patients. Obviously, we don't want you losing that on that revenue. There's a lot of manual tasks that come with a higher patient volume, having to call everybody, scanning and shredding welcome packets, hopping on the phone with a prospective patient to find a time that works for them, sending out postcards to retain the patients that you have attracted. So there's a lot of things that are going on this year that do require extra tools to help with the efficiency of what a lot of dental offices are currently running into.
Awesome. Appreciate that insight, Adrian. And then the next thing we'll talk about is the increasing competition. So in this, post-COVID world where practices are now back to full-time operations, what can they do to stay competitive? What are you seeing on your end that's really working? If someone else opens up down the street, how can you ensure that, you're maintaining your current clients, while also ensuring you're bringing in new ones?
Absolutely. So I feel like nowadays we are definitely living in a world where people are relying on more instant gratification. So it's important to be able to stay competitive when it comes to technology. The old way of having to call everybody or, having people fill out paperwork for their appointments can be a little mundane. It's definitely time consuming. So it's important to be able to stand out compared to your competition. Speaking of competition, maybe your practice is one of those practices that didn't recover their entire patient base since the pandemic. Maybe you still do have a lot of openings in your schedule. So, what we want to make sure that can happen is that you're doing everything you can to attract local people in your area. So whenever people do local searches, they are looking at the reviews. We've done a study and noticed that 70% of prospective patients do read your online reviews just to get a better understanding of what their experience is going to be like whenever they do come in for their appointment. So it's important not to be missing out on those potential clients.
Thank you for that insight, Adrian. Next, let's talk about patient flow. So we all know it's super important to make sure that your patients are showing up on time, that your schedule book is staying full. Can you walk us briefly through some of these statistics?
Absolutely. So we know that a practice might be working really hard to attract new patients, and another study we found is that the attrition rate of an attractive patient is only 17%. So we want to make sure that your schedule does stay full. So we all know that probably one of the most expensive things that can happen to a practice is an empty chair, and we want to make sure that these patients aren't just slipping through the cracks. So if you add it up, it does come out to be about $12 to $15,000 is the average lifetime value of a patient. So we want to make sure that whenever you do have a no-show or a cancellation, we can quickly fill that opening in your schedule. We have noticed that practices that don't proactively try to fill these openings in their schedule can eventually lose up to $150,000 per year on missed revenue.
Wow, that's a big number.
Definitely adds up.
All right, now that we've talked through some of the problems, next we're going to talk about how technology can really give you you and your practice a leg up. So there's three different types of technologies that we want to talk about today. The first one is patient communication. So this is obviously key, right? Not everyone communicates by email anymore. Some patients would rather get a text message or an audio message or something of the like. So we're going to talk through some of the ways that Doctible can help expand your options when it comes to patient communication. Next, we're going to talk about automation. So this is critical for any private practice to always be looking for ways that they can automate their operations. This is going to reduce staff burnout, reduce human error, ensure that your operations are running as smoothly as possible. And then lastly, we're going to talk about patient engagement. This is really at the core of Doctable's offerings is how can you stay engaged with your patient and how can they stay engaged with you. So we'll talk about scheduling and things like that. All right. Um, so like we said in the beginning, Doctable does help you save 5 days a month. We've done extensive research looking at exactly which features save you how much amount of time. So if we're looking at voice reminders, this is 7 hours saved, digital forms, 50 hours saved, 74 hours saved for automated reminders, adding up to 5 days a month. You know, ultimately, what we're here to talk about today is the fact that, you know, as much as we would like patients to have you top of mind, they're busy just like, you know, just like you are. And so it's ensuring that we're reaching them in modern ways that is not only going to benefit them, but also benefit your staff. All right, now that we've talked about some of these solutions and the ways technology can help, I'll pass it off to Adrian and we can kind of do a deeper dive into how Doctable does some of these things.
Thank you, Mitchell. So I really like this graphic just because it does highlight the amount of money that might be left on the table if you're not using a patient engagement software. So with Doctable, we have a lot of tools to, number one, increase your overall patient volume. So more patients means more revenue, but more patients also means more reminders. Hopefully, these extra reminders aren't going to fall on the workload of your already busy staff. So with Doctable, we do have an automated reminder solution to make sure that people are being reminded of their appointments. They're showing up on time. And because you're getting a lot more successful appointments showing up, it's obviously eventually going to result in an increase in revenue for you. Now we can get into a couple of the specifics as to how Doctable will be able to do this exactly. One click there, Mitchell. Thank you. So I like to start here because this is going to be kind of the journey of what your patient is going to experience. So number one, they need to get an appointment. So traditional way that people would go about getting this appointment, they'd look you up online, they'd give you a call. I hope your staff isn't busy. If not, they need to return the phone call. Once they get the patient on the line, they need to go back and forth, find a time that works best for them. It can be a whole ordeal. So what we do is we set you up with an online appointment requesting tool, which we call Smart Scheduler. What Smart Scheduler can do is actually read the true availability you have in your electronic health record. That way, it eliminates that phone call of having to go back and forth with the patient to find a time that works with them. And on top of that, your staff ultimately has power to approve or deny patients when they request this appointment. Another great way that we're going to save you up to 7 hours per month in phone calls is the traditional way to remind a patient of their appointment was to do the old-fashioned phone call. So with Doctible, we're proud to say that we're one of the few companies out there can actually do an automated phone call so we can engage with even your elderly patient base and make sure that the appointment does stay top of mind for them and they do indeed show up on time. Now, with our reminder system, it's all encompassing where not only can we do an automated phone call for your staff and your patients, we can even do automated emails and texts. Nowadays, we have noticed that a lot of patients, especially younger patients, so this next generation of patients, definitely prefer the text message over the phone call. It's a lot harder to pick up the phone in the middle of the day, but really easy to check your phone. So this allows your patients to be reminded of their appointments and their preferred method of contact. Also, in the cases of the patient maybe needing to reschedule, rather than them having to pick up again the phone or you having to call the patient yourself, you can easily have a conversation with them via text back and forth so they can respond at their convenience. We'll even have tools to help notify you whenever you do have cancellations and set you up with tools to quickly fill those vacancies in your schedule. Once we have your patient reminded of their appointment, next step is then for them to come in. Like I said at the beginning of the call, typically patients were instructed to come in early. We know people don't follow instructions all the time. Some people might show up late. They still need to fill out the paperwork. By the time they get back to see the doctor, it's going to throw off the entire rhythm of the schedule. So for that, we have a way to save your patient's time as well as the front office time, and that's with our digital form solution. So with our digital forms, they're automatically texted or emailed to your patients. These can even be hosted on iPads in the office or on your website. And it allows your patients to finish their paperwork at their convenience. And you will be receiving all that information electronically. So you have all their medical history, their medications, the insurance types that they have, even a copy of their insurance card before the patient ever sets foot at your practice. We even have a couple electronic health records that once the patient submits the paperwork, it'll automatically upload into the EHR. So there's no need to be scanning or shredding. Also, some of the demographics and the insurance information will populate right into the fields, which eliminates user input error from the front office staff. Also, they're going to be thanking you because of all the time that they get to save rather than having to manually input everything in themselves. Now, we know that life gets in the way, and sometimes there is a need for a last second cancellation or a reschedule. And for that, what we do is we allow you to create a digital ASAP list right off your Doctable dashboard so you can quickly reference it and send out a text with a link to a number of patients. With the link, once a patient clicks on the link, it'll either be first come, first serve, where the patient will get the appointment, or at your staff's discretion to approve the appointment. So what it does is it eliminates the traditional notepad with names jotted down and the staff having to go down and call everybody. Now they can easily just select their target audience, send out that link, and go back to their day.
Yeah, and I wanna just quickly talk about EasyFill a little bit more. This is, from my understanding, a very new exclusive feature that Doctable is offering. It's something we've gotten really great feedback on. If you look at this statistic here, it looks like we're filling nearly half of all last minute cancellations. So, last minute cancellations are more common than we'd want them to be. And the fact that there's now a solution that helps take care of some of that is pretty amazing.
Absolutely. And you can see also from the statistic that you're going to recover at least $60,000. That's a lot of money to leave on the table.
Definitely.
Now, once you got your patients in the door, Mitchell kind of touched on this at the beginning of the call, but it's important to stay engaged after their appointment as well. So after their appointment, the patient's going to go back to their life. There's also the possibility that maybe they didn't schedule that follow-up as they were checking out. So what we want to do is make sure that you're not missing out on any of that revenue and not missing out on those patients that you worked so hard to attract to your patients initially, to your practice initially. So with our automated recall feature, what it'll do is send out a text or email after a certain amount of months that the patient's last been to your practice, reminding that their appointment is coming up. We'll even remind them after their due date, just to make sure that everybody stays up to date with all their treatments without your staff having to run a report and call everybody or manually send out postcards. On average, we see that with our automated recall system, we're helping recover at least $187,000 per year for each practice that we help.
Wow. Yeah, that's a big number for sure. Um, Next, we'll do a Q&A. So we'll look in the chat right now, see what questions we have. All right. So the first question we have actually is something we talked a little bit about, but can Doctible help with filling canceled appointments? Adrian, if you want to touch on Easy Fill just a little bit more, I know it's, like I said, an exclusive feature of Doctible.
Yeah, there's a lot of companies that really aren't doing anything to help with those last second cancellations. So what we've done is we've found a way to be able to take a selected patient base so your staff can easily create an ASAP list off a Doctable dashboard. Since we're integrated with your EHR, they can simply search the patient's name and quickly add them to that list. And then whenever there is an opening in the schedule due to, let's say, a last second cancellation or a reschedule, there will be all the availability shown right on your Doctable dashboard that has available appointment slots. Your staff can select that slot, select their target audience from that ASAP list, and quickly send them a text with a link. Once the patient engages with the link, we'll notify your staff so they can plug them in to the EHR. We'll even notify the patients that the appointment's been taken. So the patient that's coming in gets that confirmation. The other patients that received the text will be notified the appointment has been taken. That way your staff isn't fielding phone calls and text messages throughout the day asking about that availability.
Awesome. That's a great answer. We just had another one come through. What do you think are the most helpful parts of Doctable? So this person has used Solution Reach and Weave and been disappointed with some of the functionality. So how does Doctable kind of stand out from the pack?
So I would say with Doctable, number one, compared to Solution Reach, we have a lot more tools when it comes to patient engagement. So number one, going back to the easy fill, I don't think a lot of companies, including Solution Reach or Weave, do this. We also know that with Solution Reach, they tend to have a lot of syncing issues, and that's just because they haven't partnered up with any companies. With Doctable, we're actually official partners with Henry Schein, Patterson, and Open Dental, so the three big players in the dental industry. And because of this partnership, we do have a lot stronger integration. So you're going to experience a lot less syncing issues like you would with Solution Reach. And then on the topic of Weave, I mean, Weave is notorious for their integrated phone solution, which I'll be the first to admit is great, but they kind of dropped the ball when it comes to the rest of the patient engagement. So they kind of put all their eggs in the basket of the phones. When it comes to their texting, it can be very glitchy. I think with their digital forms, they lack a lot of customizability. They also do tend to have problems when it comes to things like review generation. So being able to leverage your happy patients and getting more people into the door, so helping you stand out online. So with Doctable, our main focus is patient engagement. It's not phones. And the fact that we have such solid partnerships throughout the entire dental industry just makes it a more sound software to use. So a lot less it's just a happier user experience because your staff doesn't need to be dealing with all these issues that other companies might bring.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then and lastly, if someone wanted to sign up for Doctable today, let's say they do the demo, they like what they see. how long does it take to start seeing value or return on investment, right? Is there what walk us through a little bit what the onboarding process might look like?
Yeah. So our customer success is actually something that we really pride ourselves on. So a lot of companies are notorious for outsourcing their customer support. It'll usually be to like a third-party warehouse or somebody, other side of the world. With Doctable, all our support is provided in-house. So the onboarding journey will have one onboarding specialist dedicated to your practice. They'll be your point person. We can usually get your system up and running within 1 week, and we do offer very thorough training. It's about an hour long for the initial training, and on that call, we'll show you all the ins and outs of the Doctable dashboard, how it's going to be applicable to your practice, help you customize your templates. That being said, we do offer free additional trainings. So we want to make sure that you're always getting the most out of your Doctable platform. So you can always reach out to us if you want a refresher. And typically we see immediate success with the dashboard because you can start using Easy Fill immediately. Again, we're seeing a high rate of these openings in schedules being filled. On average, we're seeing something like 10 appointments be filled per week with Easy Fill alone. Not to mention the fact that you can immediately start texting back and forth with your patients as well. So immediate applications with moving forward with Doctable.
Wow, that's awesome. Quick turnaround. Okay, we are coming close to time, so before we hop off, I do want to thank everybody for showing up today and attending the webinar. We hope it was helpful. And then as a next step, we would love to do a demo with you. Adrian, I'll let you kind of talk a little bit what that process looks like, right, for those who do want to take the next step.
Yeah, thank you, Mitchell, and thank you for everybody that attended. So feel free to scan that QR code, and me and my team would be more than happy to hop on a call with you. We'll find specifics as to how we can help your practice. Another thing I want to emphasize with Doctable is a lot of companies out there, they'll kind of just set you up with a cookie cutter package. We're here to tailor fit a package and find something that's particular to your practice, and we don't want to charge you for things you're not going to need. So reach out to us, and we'd be more than happy to see if there's any way we can help.
Awesome. Thanks, Adrian, and thanks everyone for attending.
Thank you, everyone.